organic, fair trade, and other regulated terms. You can't just say your product is organic. In the past, this wasn't a matter of federal law and caused a great deal of confusion. Since 2003, there have been strict standards in the U.S. that not only define what organic means, but also just who can certify that you are. If you're going to make the word organic part of your advertising, you'll need to contact your certifying agency. If you don't use 100% organic certified ingredients, you can't call your product made of them organic. Fair trade is another such regulated term. The penalties for misusing such terminology can be severe, so don't mess around with it. Becoming certified as a producer of raw or manufactured goods is usually a financial investment of a few $1,000s and can be several years in the process. On the other hand, you open yourself up to a very wide audience and can be found at local stores. You can certainly label your products as made with organic ingredients if they are. As long as something is labeled, you are free to sell it all day long. Ultra-modern, hip, and totally cool. The sustainability movement is cool right now, but don't let that stop you from being as fashionable as you like. It might be even better to just market your product or service as simply the coolest thing since sliced bread. This is especially true if your market is the youthful crowd and their disposable income. Sure, everyone eats, but not everyone buys beanbag chairs or exotic party dresses in a large quantity. Technological devices often appeal to men. You'll want to mention the very cool, ecologically friendly task your device performs, as well as show it looking good in action. If you've developed a tea kettle that very efficiently boils only the amount of water you need, show what an excellent and stylish kettle you've put your improvements on. Use the principles of fashionable marketing to hawk whatever wares or services you have to offer. Have a stylish theme and keep it going through your entire product or service line. Change things up from season to season like high fashion. Get some beautiful people to be seen with your stuff or service. Get the attention of someone whose opinion matters to many in your intended audience. Do something fun and edgy, and people will associate you with a good time. When changing your market focus to fashion, the sustainability angle always remains secondary. It's a delayed reaction, sort of a secondary marketing punch. When they get the product home, read the label, remember being pleasantly surprised, and think of you when they shop again. Uniquely local. Even if you haven't lived in a town or region for very long, you have a pretty good idea what makes it unique, or you probably wouldn't be there. If you're native, that's just how things are. You might want to study and ponder the subject a bit to make sure you realize just what makes your hometown unique. Even if your product is proudly made in, wherever you are, what you really want to do is appeal to your neighbors. Once you figure out what segments of the population live in your area, you can decide if local marketing is going to work for your product or if you have to cast a wider net. If there are plenty of people nearby who could use what you've got, then you just have to reach as many of them as possible. People who provide services, other than those media-related tasks that can be done over the internet, will have to be local in at least some regard. Since this is assumed, you will want to tout your company's commitment to the local area and contribution to the community. Artisan. You are an artist at what you do. People appreciate someone who does their very best every day and delivers their creativity to the marketplace. Like the quality that typifies an upscale product or service, by doing so with a unique verve that entertains, you cater to people who pay attention to detail. By creating the very best example of your craft, you're likely to be using methods that predate mass production. You're guaranteeing the sort of experience that people don't usually have a chance to experience. Treat your product or service like a work of art. Hold shows. Put some extra time and effort into every aspect of your presentation to make sure it fits the theme of a finely wrought craft. You have the liberty of being a little quirky when presenting your products as art. Upscale without alienation. You want to get premium prices by appealing beyond altruism. At the same time, you want to do it in such a way as to remain accessible to as wide a segment of your likely markets as possible. It's a real balancing act to create a project that can be upscale without intimidation. Cut your prices too much and your customers may think you've cut corners somewhere. You need to be prepared to deal with a skeptical and cautious clientele when defending your right to charge what you're truly worth. Make sure the first try is as low risk as possible. Most people want to be sure about a product or service before jumping right in. This isn't so much of a problem with low-cost consumer items, but for larger ticket offerings. You want to make sure there's some way for your clients to test drive your wares as much as possible so they feel confident in their decision. Some products lend themselves to smaller trial-sized versions of their larger counterparts. Of course, this doesn't work well with other items or services, but if there's a way to give people a taste of what you have to offer, you may find customers choosing to make a meal out of the appetizers to your advantage either way. Even if you don't want to bother making tiny versions of your product all the time, you could hold a monthly sample night where people get to try everything for a single fee, like Disneyland. In the case of larger ticket items, there may be ways to allow a literal test drive or have an open house where the public can check out the facilities or wares. Trade shows and fairs are a common way of doing this, but if you have a physical location, you can invite the public in for a tour. It may be reasonable to take a cut in your normal rate for samples of your service. For instance, let's say you're a massage therapist, LMT, that normally charges $50 an hour. You could bring your chair to a location your likely potential audience is hanging out in and give 10-minute massages for $5. You'll have plenty of takers and can make sure you give your card to each and every one of them. You won't make a lot of money, but you just got paid to advertise. There may be a way to market a more affordable entry-level model or service that lacks some feature of the original but none of the quality. The latter part of this is very important. Even if the entry-level product is totally different, it needs to showcase your considerable talents. If your job is to clean carpets, you could offer a special on cleaning throw pillows, just to demonstrate how well your eco-friendly methods work. But be sure to make them shine. For some reason, a product that costs $5 won't appeal as much as letting customers choose 5 $1 items. People like being able to sample which is best without making a year-long commitment to it. This phenomenon seems to carry across demographics and industries regardless, though is perhaps most powerful among consumables or gifts. Proven utility. There are a lot of product and service claims out there. It is to your advantage to be able to demonstrate that you can deliver on any claim you make. This can be accomplished through demonstration. You can show movies and pictures of your product in use on a website. You could showcase your previous work. You could give live demonstrations or samples. Your existing customers might even be willing to let others see the good work you've done for them. If your product is particularly easy to use, you should be able to demonstrate that with your offerings. Then there's no need to sacrifice time or anything else that most people suffer from having too little of it in their lives. People can usually tell if something's going to eat up an entire day of their lives if they can make heads or tails of the directions in the first read. Consider Easter egg decoration kits. Most everyone is familiar with the leading brand. Do your eggs ever look like the ones on the package? Would you bother if it weren't an excuse to spend some time with your kids? Does it take all night? You probably could have figured what you were in for from one look at the stuff that comes in the box. What is it? Why did you just spend money on a few mysterious pills and a piece of wire? Now, let's say you found a way to easily manufacture and package all natural Easter egg dyes. It is now your job to not only convince people that you actually can make eggs that look like those on the package, but also that it won't take any longer than the leading brand. Show people that your dyes wash out of the kids' smocks and hands. You don't have to futz around with measuring and pouring acids. The colors come out more evenly, and the results are so non-toxic that you could eat the shell. Your kit may cost more, but look at the snappy results. It took no more time or effort than any other brand. When it comes to demonstrating future cost savings, you can prove your point by giving very detailed written examples of just how those savings will come about. Don't just say 20% better. What does that mean? Give specifics that are above reproach. It's better to give a smaller energy savings figure and have them find on closer inspection that their savings may be even greater. When demonstrating higher build quality and durability of your product or service, it may be difficult to do this without naming the competition. Please do try and avoid the temptation. The last thing you need as you embark on this bold new venture is to find yourself at the pointy end of a slander lawsuit. You should, however, be able to show just how tough and durable your offering is and let your customers make the comparison themselves. Again, don't just say your outdoor eco paint will stand the test of time. Back that up with an ironclad guarantee. If your product makes claims as to health or safety issues, being able to back them up becomes even more important since such claims are a matter of law. If you can't prove something, don't claim you can. Period. Instead, you can say what your product doesn't contain with great certainty. If your claims depend upon nutritional analysis, be sure and have that analysis handy and gathered from a reputable source. 2 sources are even better. Don't gouge even if you can. So you've come up with a real winner of an idea. You know it's going to take off like a rocket, or perhaps it already has. Don't start charging as much as the traffic will allow. It is very possible that others will tell you the very opposite, but unless you want to be known as a carpetbagger, then I'd advise against it. There's plenty of money to be made without resorting to such tactics. There's a balance between making a good profit and taking advantage of your market position. While you might be able to clean up for a little while, pretty soon the word on the street will be, it isn't all that. That sort of buzz doesn't bode well for your future success. There are companies that design and make products they know will only sell once because they're crummy. They rely upon fooling people once. Such companies also tend to change their names and offerings on a very regular basis. That's not what sustainability is about. Fostering loyalty in your customer base. To truly be a success, you need repeat business. You've established your brand, now it's time to create some brand loyalty. If successful, you'll not only find yourself quickly becoming a local darling for your good work, but you can also count on that most coveted of all marketing prizes, good word of mouth from your new friends and clients. Personalize your service. There's something very human about putting a face to a brand. People want to know that there's a real person behind the name. More than that, they want some sort of meaningful human interaction with their purchase. Even if people don't realize that's their motivation, there wouldn't be a complicated persona called Betty Crocker if there wasn't an advantage. While it may seem that this is perhaps more of a motivation for women, men like to know there's something behind the goods, some clever person they can talk to and get the straight story from. Either way, it is to your advantage to make sure that you or someone close to you in the organization is easily accessible. In some cases, it might be the appearance of accessibility rather than the real deal. If that's the case, you need to make sure that your customer service personnel are given latitude to take care of things, and that if you need to intervene, they're not afraid to get a hold of you to do so. If you are the business, then it's easy. Being small, you've probably decided to keep all the profits and market directly for at least a significant portion of your revenue. That means you will be available to your clients to really talk to them, not only in dealing with others and problems, but also to share your ideas and visions with them. If your enthusiasm is infectious, your sales will be too. Don't be afraid to let people know who you are and why you're doing this. If your company is large, it then becomes a matter of making regular appearances and taking time keeping your customers appraised of your successes and ideas. What was once the domain of the monthly newsletter has become the corporate blog, but the concept is the same, sans paper waste. Your adventures and inspiring stories are marketable too. If there's an interesting story behind what you do, be sure and let people in on it. Perhaps it was some sort of epiphany you had about changing the way you do business. Maybe the idea for your new company came to you in a dream. Even if it was either this or prison, it's interesting and lets people know that their purchases are helping a real person help the world. Be local. Localism saves the cost and embedded energy of transportation and keeps money circulating in your own neighborhood. Better yet for you, as the neighborhood fill-in-the-blank, you become a member of the community. That ensures your neighbors will think of you first when looking for the product or services you offer because they know you and can stroll down and talk to you like it was the 1950s all over again. Most folks like dealing with the home team when they can. Big box retailers have no warm fuzzies to offer. People are starting to realize that's something they've been missing and are willing to pay a few extra cents for. It gives your neighbors a reason to go walking to do their marketing. While they're out, they might find another small business in the area that carries something else they can use. Next time they're out getting that something else, they might as well pop in and see if you've got anything on special. Since you're sourcing your materials from local businesses, the cycle is self-perpetuating. Pretty soon your business is thriving as part of an interwoven network of fellow business owners, all of whom have a vested interest in caring about your neighborhood's continued prosperity. Creating trust. Purchase decisions imply a certain level of trust. With each and every purchase, you're fulfilling a promise to deliver what you say. As a trusted member of the community, you can be counted on to give your customers a fair shake instead of relegating them to phone jail or worse. It is virtually important that you look upon every customer interaction as a chance to impress, even if it starts out as a compliment. Every time you treat someone well, they come away with a good feeling. They'll remember when others ask about your company. The level of trust you'll want to encourage goes up with the cost of the product or service as well as with potential lifetime of your work. For instance, you put more trust in an architect when you can go with them to design your house than with a chocolatier you visit once a week. You do rely upon the sweets shop to provide items you can feel good about and taste good, but you'll be living in the product of the architect for years to come. If the sweets turned out not to be made with fairly traded and organic sugar, you'll be disappointed, but maybe not for the rest of your life. If that house falls down around your ears, you've begun a nightmare that could ruin you. As such, you'll find companies that peddle high-ticket items spend a lot more time and effort gaining trust with demonstrations of their previous work and keeping in touch with past clients to make sure everything is working out. Any company that seems reluctant to show their previous work will be assumed guilty of some transgression, true or not. Service. Delivering superior customer service should be the mission of any business, whether they fit an ecological niche or not. However, since you're trying to build a sustainable relationship with your customers based upon trust and mutual respect, you really need to make sure no one ever has a reason to think they've been given the brush off. Even if your business is a trendy nightclub that hopes to make sustainable choices in all it does, you still can't act like the other guys. Remember, sustainable businesses are supposed to be nicer. Prove that stereotype correct. There are a few basic rules of customer service. Whomever the customer deals with is the company as far as they're concerned. Make sure you pay very special attention to the consistency and quality of the service personnel on the front lines. Should your restaurant make the best food ever, you'll turn off those who've been offended by your rude or standoffish wait staff. You can help by keeping an eye on things and making your customer service staff feel like they're as important as they actually are. By giving them a chance to feel a sense of ownership of their job, the company becomes just a little bit theirs to promote. Generally, the things people are looking for in service fall into a few categories. Anderson and Zemke, 9. That are familiar to everyone. Reliability. Customers can count on your business to accurately and dependably provide what is promised implicitly or expressly. Responsiveness. Your company is always looking to help people have a better purchase experience. Assurance. When interacting with your company, customers can feel confident in your ability and sincerity. Empathy. Even if something does go wrong, you feel the customer's pain and let them know you're going to do whatever it takes to make it better. Tangibles. When customers enter your business or look at your website, they can tell you pay attention to details. Keeping these principles in mind will keep your customers coming back because you obviously care. Consistent messages. There's something inherently untrustworthy about a story that changes with each telling. When customers ask questions, be sure each and every one are answered completely and honestly. Don't tell them you don't know the answer. Tell them you'll find out. Be sure everyone on your sales force is on track and has a good knowledge of the product. If this means having regular in-service days or sending out regular memos, do it. Your employees will appreciate being given the tools to do their job, and you have greater control over the message that is accompanying your brand. If your company's policies change or new research has changed the information you're operating from, let everyone know at once. When giving customers the new information, let them know things have changed and why. This will let your customers know you're innovative, on top of things, and keeping an eye out for them. Transparency. Always, always, always be honest. Along with this, remain as publicly transparent as possible. This sometimes means you could lose face, but that's far better than doing things behind the scenes that people may find out about later. You don't want to be the subject of an investigative report, but if you are, don't give them anything to find that isn't a matter of public record. This doesn't mean you have to give away any trade secrets, such as the recipe for your vegan barbecue sauce, but you should be as upfront as possible. When someone asks you what ingredients are in the potatoes, you can tell them without mentioning whether it's a teaspoon or tablespoon of mustard. If you haven't found a way to green up some aspect of your business, be honest and open about that too. You may be surprised and find that by telling people truthfully that it's something you're still working on, they might have some suggestions that you hadn't considered before. Even if you had heard them before, be sure to thank them. If you do look into their suggestions, be sure and tell them what you've found next time they stop in. Having a plan for referrals. The good words are going to come rolling in as soon as you begin doing business as you've planned. It is important to reward your loyal customers with something that will be of value to them. These people are among your most powerful allies and should be treated as such. Whenever someone tells you or your staff that they were referred, try and find out who sent them. If you can identify who referred them, make it a point to say thank you somehow. Perhaps it will take the form of a discount coupon or some free merchandise. It will feel more personal if you thank them yourself when they come in next. Be sure you're ready to keep track of these things. If you miss your chance to say thank you, it's gone. Education. You're already up on the happenings and trends in your business. Taking some extra time to educate your customers on what the nature of your ecological niche product or service can do for them will have great returns. Once they know why they need your service or product, it becomes a matter of providing it at the price and in the manner they'd like. Just getting people to ask a question is the hardest part. Now that you've got them talking, every moment is a chance to not only sell, but also create a lifelong customer. If you're good at teaching or public speaking, you might want to consider teaching classes on various related topics and perform the soft sell that way. One of the things that is difficult about peddling ecology is that the notions are complex. Not everyone has a degree in science to help them understand. It may take more than a few minutes to explain to someone just what's wrong with the biscuit mix they've been using all these years. Once you take the time, they will not only feel as if you've performed a service, but are looking out for their welfare. Once they try your biscuit mix, they'll realize it tastes better anyhow, and you've made another dedicated customer who will then look for other eco-friendly products, including yours. Speak plainly and don't condescend. When teaching people old enough to make purchasing decisions, especially about a topic you know a great deal about, it's hard to speak to them in clear language without offending. Either you start out trying to give too much information or you dumb it down too much. It might be handy to take some time writing down explanations as to why you're doing things the way you are, and then have someone else read them. They can give you some pointers on how to modify your approach until it's a nice balance between your specialized knowledge and getting your point across. Another handy trick is to have an elderly relative ask you questions and see if you can get them to understand. If you can make yourself understood without causing frustration, you can explain yourself to anyone. Explain your technical breakthroughs, or at least describe the breakthroughs that you're utilizing to bring them this awesome idea of yours. Even those that follow the green movement can't keep up with everything new that's coming to fruition these days. It's an exciting time with a great deal of innovation coming forward every day. Most people will be impressed at the amount of research and thought you've put into your venture. Some will want to know more about it. Be ready to talk shop with customers of all knowledge levels. If the breakthrough is your own and is important enough to be patented, then you've already got information about it written and ready to go. If it's just a great idea, try writing your own summation of the technology involved to make sure you can explain it in a clear manner. Straight information on health impacts. You may not want to make specific health benefit claims, but it's always good to have information at hand as to the concerns and impacts that have been proven about the conventional way of doing things. It can be very helpful to have pamphlets or web pages made up to explain these things. Refer to them liberally and encourage others to check it out. Always stick with the facts. Don't go out on a limb and repeat things you've heard from less than reliable sources. It does no good to fill your customers' heads with half-truths. If there's a chance someone can besmirch your good name and efforts by calling into question even one of your facts, everything you said will become suspect. Emphasize positive progress. When it comes to having information that people need to make good decisions, it is always best to emphasize not only what doesn't work, but also what you can offer that is a better solution. Just as dire predictions about the state of the earth don't often encourage people to spend their money, it does no good to talk about the many ways of going to hell in a handbasket without providing an alternative. Even as you begin and progress on your own journey, you'll make progress in your ecological goals too. It may be inspiring to your clientele to learn just how you transformed yourself and your company into the force for good that they now find before them. You might even inspire one of your clients to follow your example and take their own idea to the marketplace. You've followed the example of those who've gone before you. Repay the favor and give whatever time you can spare to mentor others any way you can and gain a staunch ally in the process. Get some high-profile clients to assist. The same people whose example can be great advertising for you can also assist you in educating others. While you have less control over just what they say, hopefully you've had a chance to have a nice long chat with them and fill them in on the background information and issues that caused you to create this product or service in the first place. Such allies can help you reach even more people, though they likely won't have your in-depth knowledge. Don't be shy in handing out cards. Be sure they know where they can point people who want to know more. Again, a well-designed and useful website can be invaluable in such situations. Your celebrity spokesperson will only have to remember your well-chosen web address, URL, to send them along. Reaching your potential customers. There are many ways to go about marketing products and services to ecological niche markets. The ideas that follow are just a few rough ideas. In the end, you'll want to consult other sources for each one you seriously decide to go with. Keep a few principles, Braden and Roth 232, in mind when designing your campaign, no matter the venue you choose to deploy it in. By considering one after the other in your planning, you'll ensure successful communication. Attention. Do something that will get people to look in places where your demographic is likely to look. Benefit. Connecting your product with positive outcome. Credibility. Backing up your claims with believable facts or a trustworthy spokesperson. Desire. Getting your potential customers to envision themselves actually using the product or service. Effect. Your goal may be a direct sale, as on the internet, or an indirect one that they'll fulfill when they visit the store next. Once you've figured out how you'll accomplish this, then you can implement the next. You've done a lot of research up to this point. You know who your target audience is and what motivates them. You've got your facts in hand and memorized. You know where you stand in relation to your competition. You know how your product or service can benefit people. Now you need to make some decisions regarding this final stage of implementation. What specifically do you hope to accomplish with this ad? What do you want people to remember after encountering your ad? What tone do you want to take? The exact nature of your adverts and the characteristics of your target audience will have a great impact on how you answer those questions. Once you have those answers in hand, you're more than ready to put your creative talents to work. Green routes and sustainable tourism. Many people are interested in staying green on the road. Make it easy and participate in eco-friendly tourism and green guides. There are many websites and travel guides available that focus on places in any given town that operate sustainably. This sort of listing is especially useful for vacation spots, restaurants, and any type of business that caters to the needs of travelers. Some organic and sustainable farms and ranches have turned their extra land into bed and breakfast inns or event venues. Those in rural locations can often partner up with other sustainable businesses in the area to create a tourist destination where none existed before. Such adverts usually take the form of web guides, road maps distributed at places that travelers frequent. It is likely that you'll be purchasing the ad space rather than building the campaign from the ground up yourself. However, should you find yourself in charge of such an operation, once you've got your map or guide printed up, you'll need interested people to find it. It might be helpful to contact your State Department of Transportation to see if they have any suggestions or regulations pertaining to placement at such locations as interstate rest stops and waysides. Hotel lobbies are also fantastic places to put such material. Local sustainable guides. Just as the yellow telephone directories are a guide to all businesses in town that wish to spend money on their directory ads, there are now green pages specializing in sustainable goods and services. Just like other guides, these are published once a year, and the option of a simple listing, a boxed ad, inclusion under several different headings, and full-page color ads in the front or back of the book. Unlike the other guides, they differentiate themselves by printing on local recycled paper with non-toxic inks. They also choose carefully from potential advertisers to make sure they meet defined standards of practice. They often give background information about topics in relation to sustainable lifestyles, Redirect 54, and the advertisers that offer such goods and services. Some topics might include biodiesel, green buildings, natural childbirth, or localism. Sponsorship opportunities. As a local purveyor of goods and services and a member of the community, sponsoring a team or event can be a great way to get your name out there. You can sponsor teams that your employees participate in, such as a bowling league or softball league. You can sponsor the teams their children participate in, such as Little League Baseball or the civic organizations. Events that serve to get people interested in what you do can be a very good way of getting your company some name recognition. For instance, if you're an organic brewer, why not sponsor an organic brew fest? You can sponsor musical acts that appeal to your target demographic. Some sponsorships require effort on your behalf as well as money. If you're low on advertising capital, you might want to consider organizing an event so your company's name has top billing without having to spend anything but your time. Offices of Sustainability. Whether it's through the USDA or your neighborhood association, there are offices of sustainability popping up all over the place, ready with materials and resources for you to take advantage of. You can even use such organizations to find out about rebates, grants, and low-cost loans that will assist you with the marketing or implementation phase of your plan. Viral marketing and online opportunities. One of the hottest topics in marketing has been the idea of letting others start spreading your word slowly until it grows into an unstoppable monster of publicity. Usually you need some sort of lurid or unusual hook, the sort of thing that a large number of people are likely to send along as an email link. Being mentioned on a page that indexes cool links can give you the sort of bump that can make a very serious business, in the near term anyhow. Make sure before you start sending your site and your crazy good idea around that, should you be listed, your server can handle the traffic without going into shock. Since the internet is by definition worldwide, advertising here will be of most use to companies that want to ship small and lightweight items or market data and media services. As discussed earlier, you should do a great deal of research before throwing any money down the pay-per-click hole. Those who wish to remain local will do best to use the internet as a tool to disseminate information conveniently, like having a handy file folder with all your information in it that your friends can visit at any time. Either way, anytime your company appears in print or online, be sure and mention it on your website. Link to other people's sites and keep an eye out for sites that link to yours. Reciprocal links are reinforced links, the very sort that Google monster bots like best. Even if your main site is clean and easy to use, you can use a blog template such as WordPress to easily update and manage and categorize any helpful information or pictures you like. As long as you can organize it with categories or tags, your media doesn't have to get in the way of navigation and will still bring people to your site. Local media and trade publications. There are two general types of local media, that you pay for and that you get free of charge. It could be said that you get control of what is printed for your advertising dollar. As you might expect, you'll have to pay something for most traditional forms of media. As something of a scientific pursuit, advertising does a very good job of charging a lot for the most effective and impressive forms of such adverts. This most traditional type of marketing can be made unconventional by where and how it appears. Just about every privately owned surface has been treated as a billboard at some point or another. It is a testament to the effectiveness of conventional media, such as those plain old billboards, that they still exist in a world with advertising tattoos. Free media often takes the place of articles and reviews of your company or related topics. When you first open up or reopen the local news media may want to run a profile piece, especially if you're doing things a little differently or are particularly stylish about it. Should you do a good job of thrashing the competition and become a city institution, you may get an article about the insert your product here craze. Since you'll be operating totally above the board, there'll be no need to worry about scandal articles. One way to have a little control over free media is to take the time to have an employee, yourself, or a hired freelancer to write articles about topics pertaining to your operations. Even submitting general interest articles to newspapers and magazines can be carefully linked back to you in subtle ways, even if not mentioned explicitly. Press releases are an invaluable tool for getting the attention of the media. Whether you have a dedicated media relations employee or are just about ready to tackle the fine art of the press release yourself, creating a good one will be among the most important things you can do for your business. Don't be shy about sending it around. However, be sure it has both useful information and a title to catch a journalist's eye. One without the other is even more useless than a press release with neither. Trade shows. If you've never attended one, a trade show is where people with ideas or products get together to showcase their wares to interest consumers and other businesses. They usually have a very specific theme. Vendors often purchase their spaces while featured guests are usually invited by the show promoters to bring more people in. Often there will be raffles, speeches, panel discussions, auctions, and other attractions. You will be responsible for every aspect of your booth except maybe a chair or two. Some trade shows are far more effective than others. Be sure and find out all the information you can about past shows before you plunk down your fee to reserve a booth. The fees can be significant, especially for shows that are geared towards professional attendees hoping to discover and buy small businesses and their ideas. If you're looking to sell out, this might be a good way to do it. When marketing to other businesses or just doing some networking, inexpensive show spaces might be worth the while. If you're hoping to continue with local and direct marketing, you might want to look for smaller shows that allow the public in. Whatever route you decide to take with your carefully constructed advertising, there are 100 others. Only by very carefully considering the basic premises of advertising and your audience will you have an idea that is best for your niche in ecological marketing. Conclusion. There are quite a few books on marketing in general, but I've tried to give you a perspective unique to green marketing concepts. Each and every marketing tip or technique in this book has probably had at least one book written about it. This book is intended to be an overview, guide, and a good place to start your investigations. It is meant to get you thinking systematically about what to do with your fantastic idea for a new or revamped business. Anything you see in here should be double-checked, not because I haven't, but because certain aspects might be different where you are and everyone's business is unique. Most of all, thank you, on behalf of all life on this planet, for trying your best to do something decent. We need more folks like you. Good luck.